You guys, it is literally like 60 degrees right now. And to give you an idea how cold it's been, that pond back here, all this, is still frozen solid. That's how cold it's been. And today it's been almost like summer. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So what's going on, guys? I am here today outside. It's actually a very nice day, even though our pond back here is still frozen, which I showed you in the beginning of the video. I thought that was pretty neat. It's probably half an inch thick. I mean, you can't stand on it, at least I wouldn't. But anyways, so I shot a video today, and it was probably, I don't know, a good 25 minutes, and then I tried to hook it up to my computer, tried to edit, but kept like freezing my computer or whatever. So I'm trying again. I got rid of all the other footage. I don't know if it was just too long of a segment. I don't know. So I'm just shooting a whole nother video. But basically, this video is about how to get sponsors when you're first starting out in racing. So the hardest part of racing, in my opinion, is obviously the funding. The funding is, you're spending a bunch of money, especially when you're first trying to get a car together. You're having to buy everything. Even if you're buying stuff used, it still costs a lot of money because, you've got to have motor, transmission, rear end, suspension setup, the body on the car, just stuff like that. So it kind of gets overwhelming. And, unfortunately, a lot of people, they can't finish their cars just solely because they just don't have the money. So this video is kind of my story and how I gained my big sponsorship deal. And I'm not a pro racer in any form. I've never won a race. I haven't even won a heat race. I'm trying, but I haven't. I've got a few top fives, but that's really about it. So I want, you kind of keep an open mind about this because you don't have to be a pro stock car driver to really land a sponsorship deal. So basically, my story, I raced for 2 years, no sponsorship. Everything I had for the car, I either paid for or built myself, or me and my dad. My dad was in the video today that didn't end up working, but you will hopefully see him at the end of the week, assuming this video uploads no problems. He is going to be building the third member on a Ford 9-inch rear, or he's going to be building the gear, and he's going to have some like tips and tricks. He's really, really good at this stuff. He set up my gear. He set up a bunch of other people's stuff, and we've actually had the gears that got put in those cars. They ended up winning like really significant races. So he really knows what he's doing. I'm looking forward to that video. I think there'll be some pretty good content. But anyways, so back to what I was saying. So yeah, 2 years. Everything I paid for out of my own pocket. That's pretty much the story of every race car driver there is now. Sorry, I have to change hands. You spend a bunch of money up front. There's no way around it. And like I said earlier, it can get really overwhelming. So how do you fix that problem? Well, by getting a sponsorship. And I know that sounds really difficult, but hopefully, things that worked out for me will hopefully work out for you, and hopefully I can give you some kind of insight on what a sponsor look for. I also own a part-time business, so I kind of know what people in the business world or business owners are looking for when they want to take this next step in advertising, because that's basically what you are doing, is you are advertising for them. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go through a couple of the things you should do, a couple of things you shouldn't do when you're trying to land that sponsorship. And now a quick disclaimer, this may not work for you, but usually it will. Don't get discouraged. And this video is really more for people getting started into racing. It's not so much somebody who has really like established their career, like hundreds of wins and whatnot. This isn't really for them because they're already pretty popular, so it's kind of easier to get sponsored. This is for the people who aren't that popular and who are kind of struggling with the cost of racing and are looking to get a sponsorship. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first things first, usually, or what I've seen is a lot of people will go up, if you've been racing for a year or two, something like what I have, when you go to a sponsor, you know, you'll tell them, oh, well, I finished here, here, and here. And if you want me to be brutally honest with you, a lot of companies really don't care. They really don't care like where your finishes are and whatnot. They're not really interested in what you've accomplished as a driver. And I know that sounds real bad, but truthfully, that's the truth. They just sometimes they just don't care. You know, and I think the only time they would really care is if they're going to be getting a percentage of like winnings and payouts and whatnot. And the sport, like I said, it's already money hungry enough that we don't really need to be giving away our winnings either. So when you first approach a sponsor, I would stay away from, you know, how many wins you've got, or, you know, how many, you know, heat races you've won, or your highest finish, so on and so forth. I would stick more to the approach of, you know, explain to them you're there every week in front of hundreds of fans, and, you know, you're a real approachable person. You know a lot of people there. You know, you have a good reputation at the track, and, you know, I mean, not so much a driving style, but just how you treat people. You know, so like if you're a real friendly person or a real outgoing person, they're going to like that, and they'll be able to pick up on that as soon as you start talking to them. So my first don't is don't really worry too much about it. They might ask you like what all you've done, and that's fine to answer that, but don't start off with, I've been racing for X amount of years and I've, you know, won so many things. They don't care, because they're not really going to see a return if you win. I mean, they will, because their name will be on the car in victory lane, but I mean, really, if you're just starting out, you know, I mean, they really don't care, because they're looking to get their money back that they, you know, give to you, or, you know, they give you in parts. They're looking for a return, you know, on investment. So that's my first thing. And now the second thing. I gotta switch hands again. I'm holding the camera up and out, and it's like wearing on my arm. Back to kind of the first thing, but it also goes into this next part: return on investment. So when you sign with a sponsor, whether it's a small deal, you know, maybe a couple $100, or, you know, maybe a few tiny parts and whatnot, or you're getting thousands of dollars, they want to see a return. So basically, what does that mean? That, you know, translates to, you're at the track every week, you're showing the name off on the car, but is that enough? And most of the time, I would say no. As cool as that is, you're still getting the exposure you want to, you know, for that sponsor, but they would also like to get as much business from that as possible. And so my thing is, if you're going to talk to a sponsor, make sure you ask them, you know, what can we do for you, you know, the business? You know, how can we help you achieve your goals that you want to accomplish? Because you're already helping me achieve mine with the money coming in or the parts coming in. So now, how do I return the favor, you know, as it were? And my idea, you know, make sure you're asking stuff like this, but my idea is, well, you know, I can park the race car out front of your business one day, and, you know, people can come stop by, and that means more potential customer traffic for you. Or if your company does like trade shows or expos or something like that, you know, tell them, well, hey, I can bring the car up there and, you know, put up in a booth somewhere, and, you know, have more people come to your booth. It's simple stuff like that. You know, you don't have to, you know, go to every single event that they have, but definitely try to make a few of them, and definitely, you know, tell them, hey, I can do this for you. Because you have to sell this idea of a partnership between you and the sponsor. Okay? Pretty simple. All right, so on to number 3. Okay, so the third thing. I had to take a little break there because my phone started to ring. When it comes down to the money aspect, as far as how much you're going to get, or, you know, even if it's just parts or like tires and whatnot, just stuff like that, you don't want to start off too crazy. So, you know, you've introduced yourself to this business owner, you know, you've kind of established a little bit of a relationship, telling them, you know, I can do this and this and this for you, you know, to help them out with their goals. But now, how about you? What do you need? So my biggest question when dealing with a sponsor is, Well, what do I need right now? So right now, I just need to get my car wrapped, which there's a video on me measuring for the wrap. I thought the last video. That's what I need done right now. So I told my sponsor, hey, I'm going to wrap the car. Is there any way I can get help with this? And they said, sure, no problem. They wrote me a check and said, here you go get the car wrapped. That's awesome. Now, our company that sponsors us, or the company that's sponsoring us, is a pretty popular company right now. I'm not going to go into details on them, just out of respect for them right now, because we're still working out the details and everything. But they're like really good to us. But when you're starting out and you're trying to find that perfect, kind of balance between, it's fair for you as far as the money or the parts, and it's fair to them as well, because sponsorships are a two-way street. I would start off small, and this is just my opinion, but if you start off small, you don't ask them to spend a bunch of money up front, just maybe a couple $100 here and there, or buy something for the car that you need. That's a good way to start, and I highly recommend that's how you start, because the question's going to come up and they're probably going to ask, well, how much do you want, or how much do you need, so on and so forth. But I would keep it conservative, just kind of figure out what you need. If you need a new set of tires, we'll tell them, well, I need a new set of tires for this and it's about this cost, and go from there. And what that does is it tells them that you're not going to rob them of every penny trying to either fix your race car or make it faster, because again, they don't have to give you, their money. They don't have to. They can turn around and say, no, go away, shoo, I guess. But you got to keep it conservative when you're dealing with a sponsor, and it builds the relationship from there. And it really, really tells them, like, hey, I really do want to help you, but I'm not going to charge you out the butt, for, run a door panel graphic or whatever. So just keep it conservative, and start off from there. And usually if you can keep a good relationship with your sponsor, they might even up the amount of money they're giving you. So don't look at the short term, look at the long term, and they could stay on for 4 or 5 seasons, and you might have made $3-4 grand just off of sponsorship deals. And that's really what you want. You want a sustainable sponsor. You don't want somebody that's going to hand you $500 and then turn around the next season and say, no, we're not going to help. I mean, you don't want that. You want to keep that sponsor as long as you can, at least until you honor their obligation, or until you're ready to sign a new sponsor, So, excuse me. So that's just my advice on the money aspect of it. Okay, so number 4. Record keeping or bookkeeping. This is so critical in your operation as a race team or as a car owner. You really have to keep good records, and if you can show the company that you're racing for that you can keep good records, they're going to be really happy with that, because when it comes time for them to do their expenses, they have all the records, the money that you spent, and it makes their life a whole bunch easier. Another thing on purchases too, if you're buying parts with their money, make sure you're keeping copies of the receipts, and so they know that you're spending the money on the car, which is what the deal is for, and you're not just out blowing it on whatever. So make sure you keep good records, and turn in receipts to your sponsors, because they will ask for them. Trust me, I know. So yeah, that's really my number 4 thing. And my final thing, really, when it comes to kind of targeting a sponsor, you want to find, especially starting off, you want to find a local business or a company that's growing. With local businesses, like family-owned businesses and whatnot, they're looking to increase their business, because it's not going to be like a chain or anything like that. I mean, it may be if you can land a sponsorship like that, which is cool. But starting off, that's who I target, just because they want more business, they want more foot traffic in their stores, whatnot. So they'll be more willing to, you know, kind of listen to you versus a company like, you know, Comp Cams or Holly. Just people like that who, you know, who've already established their business very well, and they already have, you know, sponsorship deals with major teams, and they're not even really going to, you know, look at you. They're like, well, local dirt racer versus a car, you know, that competes in a World Series, you know, in front of thousands of people. We already have a sponsorship for that. So I'd stay away from the bigger guys first. And the next group is upcoming businesses. So like businesses who are just getting started. They really want to get their name out there. They really want to establish themselves, and advertising is a great way to do that. Advertising on a race car is even better for them, because if the race car is going every week, there's probably at least several hundred people at the track that see that. If you travel when you race, especially if you have an open trailer, it's pretty much a moving billboard, you know. But if you go to different places, you know, that company's getting exposure in wherever. It's not just around here. So that's definitely something to sell to a startup company or a local business, is you're traveling and you're pretty much a moving billboard for them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to keep the video a little shorter so that way I can actually edit it and upload it in a somewhat decent amount of time. But basically, in summary, you want to target local businesses, growing companies, you know, at first when you're getting established as a driver. Make sure you're always asking, what can I do for you as a race team? You know, if I can bring the car up to the business one day, just sit it outside. That's always a good thing for them. And finally, just keeping good records. Keeping good records, you know, financial records, receipts and whatnot, but also being kind of conservative on your like asking for money. So yeah, hopefully that will help you. Basically our sponsor right now is really helping us, and they're the reason why this car is going to be done probably 2 months early. And I'm really excited about that, because we have never been on that kind of time schedule. But we also have some trade shows that are coming up that we're probably going to be there. Just some other things we got to do with the sponsor, but you know, you always want to be helping out the people who are helping you out. So just remember that sponsorship is a two-way street. So with that, anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say. This Friday or this weekend, I'm going to upload the video on how to build the Ford 9-inch third member, the center chunk, the gear. And my dad's going to be the one kind of talking about that. So hopefully it'll be some good content. I feel like it's pretty underutilized piece of equipment on a car, because really people just look at the gear ratio. They're not really looking at the bearings, the preload, you know, checking the pattern and whatnot. So hopefully that'll give you some kind of insight on that. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. So with that, I think I've kind of run out of things to say. If you do have questions about sponsorship or you need some help, please feel free to message me, and hopefully I can get back to you as soon as I can, and hopefully I can give you an answer. But with that, anyways, thank you guys. As always, I will see you in the next video. Bye.